Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dr. Westman. Today we're going to be chatting about your favorite topic, which is alcohol on a low-carb diet. How are you doing, Eric?
Doing well. How are you, Glenn?
Very good. I suppose this is quite a sensitive topic, isn't it?
Well, I think people might be surprised that you can have some alcohol.
So that's what I was going to say. There's good and there's bad news. The good news is that you can still have some alcohol, but the bad news is that a lot of it's going to have to be cut out, and the quantity is going to have to be lowered. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure. Well, let's talk biochemistry and physiology first. You have to understand that alcohol, whether it's beer or wine or hard liquor, has some carbohydrates, maybe not much at all, though. But they also have calories. So, and you might say, well, I thought we weren't worrying about calories. Well, actually, calories have always mattered. And what happens on a keto diet for most people, which is one of the greatest things about it, is your calorie intake goes down automatically. So that's why it's known for weight loss. A keto diet leads to hunger going away. You eat less, you lose weight. So it's always about calories. We just don't count them or have to worry about them. So you have to consider how your body handles the alcohol. And generally speaking, we burn alcohol as a fuel, so it counts as a calorie. So the good news is in moderation, and it depends on the individual, that you probably can have some, but you have to be careful. If you're trying to burn the fat off your body, you can't have so much fat and alcohol and calorie intake to make your body not need to draw upon its own body fat. And so that's the weight loss puzzle that we're trying to fix for people, is to have them consume fewer calories than they're burning. Yes, the energy balance does matter, but it's not perfectly accountable like people used to think. Calories outside the body are not handled inside the body the same. It's the hormonal response. Well, that's too complicated, but suffice it to say, alcohol is burned as a fuel. And so if you're drinking lots of alcohol, you're not going to be burning your body fat like you want.
So give us an example then of quantity. So maybe just give us a couple of different, maybe some wine, talk about wine and maybe talk about some other types of alcohol and some sort of quantity so people can get an understanding of that.
Yeah, so it's quite confusing if you look on the internet and you search the carbohydrate content and the calorie content. I have people coming to me saying, well, this hard liquor has no carbs, so I don't have to worry about how much I'm having because it's zero carbs. Well, that's not true, because the alcohol calories do have to be burned as well. So there's kind of a rule of thumb. As long as you deduct or take away the really sweet, obviously sweet drinks. So no, fruity drinks at the beach that have sugar in it, right? No sweet wines that are obviously really sugary. Then there's kind of a rough estimate of about 5 carbs. And in our world, we talk about total carbs, not net carbs. There's kind of a rule of 5 carbs per drink. And that means a glass of wine, 4 or 5 inches or 4 inches, not I've learned that there's a home pour where you're filling the glass like this, and then there's a restaurant pour. It's more like the pour that you get at a restaurant. You count of wine, you count that as 5 carbs. A low carb light beer, you count that as 5. And if you look on the label, it might even say 2.6. So light beers are a way to drink some alcohol with very little carbs. And then hard liquor, usually 1 or 2 shots. So these are I think they're 1.5 ounces of measured alcohol. You count 1 or 2 of those as 5 carbs. And remember, and as we start people out for maximal fat burning, we keep people under 20 carbs for the day. So if you add up 5, now you don't want to drink all of your carbs. So because you're having vegetables and all, we teach that you really have about 5 or 10 carbs to spend or to add in to your vegetables and greens. So as 5 carbs and you're under 20, most people can have one drink a day, defined by the glass of wine, light beer, or hard liquor, and do okay. But again, what's so great about a keto low carb diet is the hunger goes away. Most people are satisfied, even if they have been daily alcohol drinkers, that drinking once a week, for example, on a weekend, keeping it less often, because it will speed up the weight loss if you drink less. Remember, the alcohol has calories and it will slow things down. Now, I guess I should have said at the beginning, if you've had an alcohol problem, alcohol dependence, or an addiction to it, and you can't control it, erase everything I've said. And I would not recommend that you have any, but not wanting to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are a lot of people who can consume alcohol safely, but if you can't control it, don't do this. I guess I thought that went without having to say it, but I said it anyway.
So there might be some exceptions to add to this as well. So some folks with fatty liver disease, should they be abstaining completely as well until their liver is healed?
Well, so it depends. Yes, it depends. If it's a mild version of fatty liver, that is actually coming from the carbohydrates that you eat. And so when you do a low carb keto diet, you're healing the fatty liver immediately. And I think the one drink a day or about that level or less would be fine. So, if you're wondering if you can do keto, you've heard other people say no alcohol, can't do that, it's not keto. In my experience, remember, I come from an experience of using this in a real clinic for 15 years. And there were people who came to me saying, it's a deal breaker if I can't have alcohol. I said, well, let's try it. And, I learned to accommodate my approach by what works for people, not what, the perfect diet in the sky is, which nobody can follow. So there are some caveats. So if it's a severe fatty liver disease, that actually can lead to cirrhosis or scarring of the liver and liver failure. Then, of course, no alcohol there. It's fascinating. The fatty liver is now one of the most common reasons that people get liver transplants. And a liver transplant is a big deal. I mean, you only have one liver, so it's not like you're replacing a kidney where there are two of them, or a lung. There's only one liver. And at Duke University, where I work, we have a big transplant program at the university. Hearts are replaced, transplanted, livers are transplanted. And so if it's a really extreme case of liver failure, your doctor would have told you that you have this problem. You're actually pretty ill. But for most people who have you have a elevated liver enzyme on the blood test, you have a scan that says you have fatty liver, without the severe cirrhosis part of it, having some alcohol is probably okay if you keep it in moderation, like we're talking about.
Now, for some folks that have embarked on a keto kind of lifestyle, there's talk about tolerance of alcohol. Is this true that the tolerance, goes up or down?
Well, this is one of those, the list of studies I want to do. If there were, boom, here you have all this money to do research now, which, hasn't happened. That's one of the studies. The word on the street, so to speak, is that people need less alcohol for the same level of effect, of inebriation. So if you're drinking to relax or to feel the good feeling of being inebriated, you may need less alcohol. Or as one of my patients said, you're a cheaper date. You don't need as much to drink. So be careful if you're used to drinking habitually and you think, well, I just always have had 2 drinks, however you define that. It may be that 1 drink is all you need. So you don't what I counsel my patients to do is don't think about how many drinks, it's how am I feeling, and make sure you're not drinking faster than how you feel, because you may need less alcohol to have that same effect, meaning the tolerance has you're more sensitive to the effect of alcohol. And I haven't seen, in my experience, haven't seen that cause any serious harm or damage that I'm aware of. It's more just the observation that people have told me that, but no research that I'm aware of in a formal kind of study. But it kind of makes sense, because the liver is where the alcohol is detoxified. So the liver sees alcohol as a poison, and it detoxifies it, degrades it, and a lot of things are changing in the liver. The fatty liver is going away. You're making ketones in the liver, and it's not a hard thing to do, but the processing in the liver does change. So it kind of makes sense that some people would have a different effect from alcohol, because the action of the alcohol metabolism is in the liver.
Now, earlier on, you spoke about some people with excessive alcohol cravings. It's also been spoken about that keto can help with alcohol cravings. Have you heard about this in your clinic over the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, that's one of those amazing things when you start burning fat as your primary fuel, and then you're making ketones from the fat on your body. Remember, you don't have to drink ketones or fats to make the ketones. Your body makes them just fine. The alcohol metabolism is changing, and actually, can you repeat that question, please?
Sorry, it was about the cravings. The cravings go away with people on keto diet.
So cravings for any sort of food or drink remarkably go away, and no one fully understands it because you're burning fat and you have ketones around. That's how we explain it away. Or another phenomenon that occurs is that you crave things that you eat or drink. And so if you stop eating or drinking something, the cravings for them will go away. It's remarkably fast. And so actually I think of that from my cigarette smoking cessation background. I worked for 10 years in that world. Quitting carbs is a lot easier than quitting smoking. And the cravings for when you quit smoking can be very, very strong, and last for a week or two. It's remarkable and kind of unbelievable that a craving for fruit and bread and pasta and rice goes away in just a day or two when you don't eat them, when you eat none of them. Right. And that happens for alcohol as well. If you stop it all at once, you'll be remarkably surprised that you really don't crave the alcohol as much. I hear that quite a bit. Again, no research study that I can cite to in the world's literature on it, but it's something that we hear repeatedly in the clinical practice of a low-carb keto diet. So
I can guess that a lot of people are going to be pretty happy about some of the information that they'll learn on this particular episode.
Well, so I've had the pleasure, and we've had the honor really to go around to keto fairs and the ADAPT meetings, where we meet people who figure out how to do this in their own lifestyle. So I don't have like the perfect diet. Here's what you do, and we work with people to make sure that they're comfortable and it's something that's sustainable. And for a lot of people, alcohol is a part of the life that they want to have. They're not over consuming. It's not detrimental to them. And even when you fine tune the type of alcohol, there are a lot of believers that the polyphenols in red wine have some actually health benefits from it. And I'm not an expert in that area, but if you believe that and you want to consume things that have antioxidant effects, and it works for whatever you're trying to accomplish metabolically, weight loss, fatty liver gone, PCOS, fertility gone, then it works even when you're having the alcohol.
Awesome. So I've got just a couple of questions. First question I have for you is from Barry. And he says, I typically drink cocktails that are sweetened with syrups. Can these, and you spoke about that earlier on, the beach kind of cocktails, can these be substituted out for sugar-free type alcoholic syrups?
Sure. Yes. So you can have sweet drinks, and this is kind of a general principle, but you can't sweeten the drink with sugar or anything that has carbohydrate. So just be careful. There are products you can purchase or just substitute something that doesn't have sugar as the sweetener. Make sure it's zero carbs or very close to zero. And as I observe the people around at these fairs around the world now, there are many people who do consume. Well, in fact, on the low carb cruise was a thing for over 10 years. There were people drinking. What was the most common? The club soda, vodka, or rum or something, and then a twist of lime. So you can actually sweeten things with natural sweeteners as well. I don't know that there's any metabolic difference there, but sure. But you want to stay away from the pina colada that has 50 grams of sugar per drink.
Veronica says, since going keto, she occasionally has one too many, and the hangovers seem to be quite severe, more so than normal. Have you heard about this when people are on keto?
No, that's interesting. I don't. I have not heard that. Theoretically, it could occur. I mean, again, this is not my area of knowing the mechanism, but the latest information, what I was taught some years ago, is that the hangovers are due to additives in the drinks, maybe the sulfites in the wine, but then also from dehydration. So that if you think about a keto diet, sometimes you're running on a little less water. You're not dehydrated, but you have a little less. It doesn't surprise me about that. The common sort of way to prevent hangovers by having something like sodium bicarbonate or Alka-Seltzer or drinking 5 glasses of water before you go to bed are kind of in that realm of you're trying to stay hydrated. But I guess the best advice is to just don't drink so much.
Right.
So that people will do what they do, but those are ways. No, but it's not something I hear frequently. But it's not something people may be comfortable telling me either.
Right. Well, Eric, I certainly learned quite a lot today. As always, this was a very insightful episode. So that's it for today. If you guys found this video helpful and you'd like to see any future videos, you can find us on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts under the name of Adapt Your Life. And if you are following us on the YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be alerted every time we post one of these videos, which is typically on a Wednesday. That's all from us. So Dr. Eric Westman and me signing off for another episode of Conversations with Dr. Westman. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
If you like this video, you're going to love our Adapt Your Life Academy. So click on the link in the description to find out more.